Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. Today I want to show you my most recent project, which is a big guy with a long staff that is trying to impress Maven kind of build. No, this is a strength stacking Boneshatter Juggernaut, focusing on endurance charges and physical damage mitigation based on a pure physical build, maybe getting in some impulse stacks. So I was watching Matthew's recent build, which was like this Boneshatter fire kind of thing, and it got me kind of interested in Boneshatter overall because it was like very aesthetic kind of character. He said himself that it's like a very fun character to play. It's not bad in terms of mapping, the clear speed, also bossing. It's tanky and whatnot. And since my past couple builds were actually kind of squishy when it comes to that, I wouldn't say like super squishy, but definitely more on the squishy side. I said like, you know what, I want to play a character that is like super tanky, a lot of physical damage mitigation, and why not even go for strength/accuracy stacking on a Juggernaut with endurance charge stacking on top of that, right? And this is the current result. This is like super early stage. I leveled this character up today. We're currently level 77 on mbXtreme, which is my Pillar of the Cage God strength stacking character. So Pillar of the Cage God, oh man, there's a lot of words, right? Accuracy stacking, strength stacking, endurance charge stacking. Pillar of the Cage God, kind of like thick dude with what is it, petrified blood, and the anomalous bloodthirst support to generate more physical damage. So as I said, I have never even played with the Pillar of the Cage God, and I was like, why not this time? Why not on this character? And at the moment, the character is super fun to play, right? It's just like running around smashing stuff with your big stick, and yeah, that sounds actually super weird, doesn't it? But hey, it is what it is, right? And I just hope that this character will keep up with the pace that we currently have. We're running 1,344 strength. I would say we have some okay-ish gear. So most of the items that I'm wearing here are just like implicit increased strength with like essence crafted. We have this on the amulet. Nothing like super too fancy. Nothing that is like double Maven orbed or something like that. That will probably come in a later stage, but overall this character has some pretty generic gear when it comes to like strength stacking. The only thing that I bought today was a ring with 1 max endurance charge. They probably go for about 10 exalts or something, but the question is, how far will I go in endurance charges? So I do have the option to go like 10 endurance charges or 11 endurance charges if I go with corrupted boots on top of that. The question is always like, is it worth it? There are a couple nodes that would make it worth. For example, the unyielding gives you 8% increased damage per endurance charge. Let's calculate we have 10 endurance charges, right? It's like 80% increased damage, 60% increased area of effect. Then here on the bottom side, the Disciple of Unyielding also would give me 80% increased damage per, or in total with 10 endurance charges. Then we run endurance charge of melee stun, which gives like then 40% more damage, and also 20% increased damage, and the stun threshold that works perfectly fine with the Boneshatter. It also has a built-in AoE explosion based on how hard we hit the enemy, how hard we do inflict a stun. I would say we're just gonna run a Breachstone so you see how the mapping currently looks like. I do have +1 strike on my gloves. I'm not sure if I'm actually... No, I'm not running Ancestral Call anymore. I would definitely recommend getting plus strike skills on your gloves, the skill tree would be an option here with the Trouble Fury, but it's another 4 points, you know. As I said, the gloves could be elevated for +2, maybe even Anoint Dead or run the Ancestral Call. Like, if you don't have any additional strike enemies, then you're just gonna end up doing exactly like that if you have this one on always attack without moving, right? So you're just gonna hit, and you're never gonna hit an enemy because your melee strike range is too low, or you're just not hitting enemies. And this is like very, very bad. Good when it comes to the kind of like mapping. This is a Breachstone, as I said. This character, level 77, hasn't even died yet, so I would still call hardcore viable. I think deaths 0 times. Very, very, very nice, very nice. Gem levels, as I said, always like have to like level it up. We're gonna go over the POV from the current version and what are the plans for this build. How are we gonna get the stick even longer, and how do we manage to learn how to use it properly so we gonna impress Maven even more, I guess, right? But I was actually kind of impressed about the clearing potential. It's very hard to see sometimes these kind of like explosions that appear on the enemy once we stun it, and the bigger the stun, the more damage or the more area of effect this kind of like Boneshatter thing will actually generate. And overall, I would say, for not even running Answer Call, for only having +1 strike, you know, I think the clear is actually really, really good. And since at least I plan to go for like heavy life stacking. I just hope that my sound is not too loud. I'm also gonna generate a lot of stuff thanks to Petrified Blood, giving us another layer of defense. In my opinion, there is a lot of people say it's like bad because overall you're gonna take more damage, but you're more secure or more safe against those one-shots. And since we're gonna run a lot of endurance charges and life regen and those kind of things, I think we can out-sustain that quite nicely. So, I lost track of what I was saying, actually. Anyways, as I said, clearing is super fine. I want to get this beefy dude, maybe even like 10,000 life or something, right? Then we're gonna reserve 50% of that, so we're in low life, so our Bloodthirst support will actually generate even more flat physical damage, and our strength will generate more percent physical damage for our Pillar of the Cage God. And I think it's gonna be a very, very cool and deadly mix once we have enough strength. The question is always like with these stacking builds. So let me do this guy real quick. Some hits left and right, and that's pretty much off. I mean, it's just a normal breachstone, but hey, my gems are level 17, right? No awakened gems, no awakened gear, nothing like that. Level 77. This is just the early showcase and talking about the plans that I have for the character and how I think it should work out at some part, and how this like overall approach to the build. And as I said, I'm not sure how it's gonna work out. I want to say this clearly at the start because we are in 3.15. Everything got nerfed to the ground, basically. A lot of builds that I played were not as fun as I was hoping them to be, just because of the pure nerfs that everything had. So I'm not really sure how I should say it, but let's say I hope it will clear all content in a good pace, with a good tankiness and a good amount of damage based on our strength stacking. But I'm not sure if it will be like that. At the moment, yeah, of course. I mean, I have 1300 strength in a normal breachstone. Obviously, it looks good. Obviously, it looks like we have a lot of damage. But this can quickly turn around once we focus Cyrus. And we're gonna slap in and slap in and slap in. And then, like, 15 minutes later, you decide, like, you know what? This build is just not cool because we don't have the damage for it. But as it is with all stacking builds, whether it's in-stacking, deck stacking, accuracy stacking, strength stacking, whatever stacking you kind of do, it always starts with stacking and ends with stacking. And sky's the limit on stat stacking build, and that also means the more strength we get, the more powerful we will get. The question is always like, what is an okay point to reach? I would say it should be not too hard to reach like 1500 strength, but is 1500 strength enough to clear all content? I don't know. I would say for my character, I maybe want to go for like 2000 strength or something, and then see how this kind of build is going to work out. When it comes to like all the skills, the support gems, please take a look at the path of building link in the description below. I just want to go over my POV that I just made real quick. This is the current state, and basically, it all starts and ends also with the trauma stack. So you're gonna see that the damage will be quite different based on how many trauma stacks we're gonna have. So every time we hit the enemy, we're gonna get a trauma stack, and we're also gonna get more damage for each trauma stack that we have. The trauma stack itself is a buff, right? So the more trauma stacks we have, the more damage we're gonna deal, because we deal more damage per trauma stack. But the other thing is, the downside is we're gonna take physical damage per trauma stack. And this is a hit. This can trigger cast damage taking, and it also triggers my Juggernaut Ascendancy, generating endurance charges. And this is the reason why I think going full endurance charges might be a cool thing, because if I remember correctly, Mathil was not focused too much on endurance charges, and he actually de-leveled or stopped leveling his Divergent Boneshatter just because of the more damage per trauma stack. So I think he kept it on level 8, which means he gets like a lot less damage than I do on this character. But the thing is, like, you need to hit a boss like for a long time to generate more and more and more and more trauma stacks. He did a super fast attack speed, so he was generating way more attacks, or at least trauma stacks, than I will do in my build. But I still try to make a build that is like very heavy hits with still scaling attack speed through accuracy through the Juggernaut Ascendancy, which is the undeniable. Good, so back here, let's say we have one trauma stack, we would reach about 1.3 million in the current state. Let's say I have 10 trauma stacks, is 1.7 mil. What is, I think, a good number, maybe 25, and then we would all of a sudden be at 2.5 million. So sky's the limit on these kind of builds. I also made a POB just for fun, just to see what is possible. Let me quickly actually pull this one up, just so, theory crafting. So, this would be like, I mean, this is kind of gear that I would say costs you a couple mirrors, if that is even enough, because some of the gear, there's double elevated stuff that might even not exist unless you want to start investing a lot. This was just quickly thrown together, only 1300 strength, right? But you see the damage, like 28 mil, with like almost 10k life, which is like kind of insane. And if you say, yo, I have 100 trauma stacks, and oh, it's 50 mil. Yo, I have 1000 trauma stacks. If you would ever survive that, or even get to a point where this is actually a thing, 1.4 billion damage, hey, let's just make it a 16 billion damage, right? So this is the really cool and nice thing about Boneshatter in this kind of version. There is, sky's the limit. You can scale their attack speed to generate more trauma stacks if you survive it, right? You can generate more damage through your accuracy. You can generate more damage through all these normal sources of like a crit based build, which is crit multi, and those kind of things, right? And you can just generate more damage through your strength stacking. And the lethal pride that I have here just has like 5% damage. Notes over here. Here is one, and I think at the moment with my current strength, this is just not too valuable. It's like 40 strength. I think those percent strength will come in handy once you have a shit ton of like generic strength. Let's say you would reach like 1000 strength, then a 5% is going to do a lot more than when I have like probably 600 strength, and then at the percent, it's going to do a lot less. So I think endgame wise, the 5% notes on a lethal pride will be the good choice at the moment. I don't think on my strength, as I said, 40 strength, is it worth it? At the moment, I don't think so. But hey, this is just the current state. What I would do next, basically, is go up here, take here a cluster jewel, get in some split personalities with like strength and life. So it has to travel all the way down here and gives us lots of strength and dexterity. Could go accuracy too, but I still think life will also give us damage based on the bloodthirst support, right? Then here, large cluster jewel, double medium with like double damage, crit, whatever, we're gonna find out. More life notes everywhere, just to get more and more life, more and more damage through bloodthirst. Endurance charges when we go to the gear. On the helmet, obviously a Wallard helm with like accuracy, or gain accuracy based on your strength, maybe even elevated, so we get the critical strike chance on top of that. With the nearby enemies take physical damage from my impale version. Body armor would be nice, percentage strength, and base crit, since it's a crit build. Gloves would be nice for having the strike skills, additional enemies, and maybe melee range, and maybe even intimidate or anything that I can fit in. For the boots, maybe +1 endurance charge and the percentage strength. For the amulet, basically anything that has like implicit with a strength. I need to POB this first. What is better? Actually, like a shaper amulet that has like percent strength and percent attributes. I think it was like hunter and or elder or warlord and shaper, something like that. So that would give me a total of like attributes, but the problem is we're gonna miss out on suffixes. Suffixes could be strength, suffixes could also be resistance, since we want to have strength under accuracy on almost every single item, and these are two suffixes, so it's gonna be a very hard time to actually scale your resistances, and maybe even in the end game actually get some chaos resistance on top of that, right? So if I think like, if you get like increased strength implicit on like both rings and the amulet, and then have free to craft with like essences and just get life resistance, multiplier, crit, all the good things, that I think that would be the best of all trades, more or less. For the belt, pretty much the same. Flasks, whatever you can fit in. Yeah, I don't want to set down on flasks too much, because I saw Bottled Faith like hilariously expensive, but in the end, as I always say, Bottled Faith fits in on every build, even on non-crit builds. The 10% increased damage taken by the enemy on consecrated ground is just too valuable to pass it on. I just saw that. Oh wait, this is just because I spec'd into that. Other than that, whatever we can fit in here, I'm not sure. I think I'm not going to go with Ancestral Call, just because I want to get these additional strikes on every other source but the gem, because one extra gem could be like a shit ton of damage when it comes to that. Then adding Awakened Gems. With the Cries, I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with my 6-link. There are two options. One would be the one that I'm playing right now with Mortal Conviction. Oh, and this is a thing that I want to mention here. I have here 0 life, right? The thing is, it works. So this is the current in-game version. We have Dread Banner with Anomalous Arrogance support. Then I have the Pride, and I do have the Petrified Blood. these all work. And the only thing that costs mana, like life, basically on reserve, is Petrified Blood and the Dread Banner. And I want to increase the cost because without Arrogance, I'm going to be not low life, basically, right? So this basically reserves me like 49%. I don't know why it doesn't calculate it. So we have Mortal Conviction, right? It says you can only have one non-Banner aura from your skills, right? So this is Pride. Pride is for free. Then we have Dread Banner because it's a banner, it doesn't count. But for some reason in PoB, I think they calculate Petrified Blood as an actual aura. But as you see in-game here, Petrified Blood is a spell and not an aura, okay? So I can activate this and it still runs with Mortal Conviction. So these are my 3 auras basically, right? Petrified Blood and the Dread Banner on my life reserved, and Pride is for free due to the Mortal Conviction. This is like a very cool solution just because all my skills cost now life and I don't have to worry about anything when it comes to mana cost. But you can also like go with like without this like Blood Magic and Mortal Conviction and basically just try to get like Enlightenance and try to reserve all of that. Maybe even add an Herald of Purity, maybe even Precision for the additional accuracy. You know, we're gonna see how this build is going to work out in the later stages. At the moment, I'm super fine with that. I have like 50.6% life reserved, so I'm always on low life. I always gonna have the Bloodthirst support enabled, and this actually gives me like shit tons of damage the more life you're gonna get. So I'm just gonna try to make this like super tanky, and based on the strength stacking, make it actually a very good all-around character with a lot of damage on top of that. But we're gonna see in the upcoming days how this build is gonna work out. At the moment, super good, a lot of fun, good clear speed, good single target. But if it keeps up until Awakener 9, this is the question. This one we're gonna find out in the next upcoming days, crafting some gear and see how everything comes together. Alright guys, thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.